Every year, Forbes magazine releases a list of America's biggest givers. And in 2023, these 25 individuals or pairs made the list. It includes people like Google co-founder Sergey Brin and Mark Zuckerberg and his wife Priscilla Chan. These are the piles of money Forbes reported each of them has given away. Collectively, a whopping $196 billion of lifetime giving. That's bigger than the GDP of most countries. This giant pile of money has done a lot of good, but it's hiding a more complicated and problematic story of billionaire philanthropy in America. We'll show you how. The Forbes list ranks the biggest givers by how much they've given over a lifetime, biggest to smallest. And they only measure dollars given to charitable recipients. That means it excludes money parked in a foundation. We'll get back to that. And money pledged but not paid out. You'll see here that Warren Buffett and Bill and Melinda French Gates are standouts. This chart we're making measures the giver's current net worth. Adding their philanthropic giving to that, we came up with the percentage of their net worth they've given away. So Forbes puts Buffett's current net worth at $106 billion, and he's given away $51.5 billion in his life, which puts him at 33%. Bill and Melinda French Gates, who are divorced but still do philanthropic work together, have a collective net worth of $109 billion and have given $38.4 billion away. Most of this group's donations go to poverty and public health around the world and education in the US. And together, Buffett and the Gateses created the Giving Pledge, a promise by the world's wealthiest individuals and families to dedicate a majority of their wealth to charitable causes. That's over 50%. They're almost there, but not quite. These 13 givers have signed it too, including Facebook co-founder Dustin Moskovitz and his wife Carrie Tuna, Jeff Bezos' ex-wife Mackenzie Scott, and Michael Bloomberg. The other signatories fall around here. Only 2 of them have made it over the 50% line. The banker T. Denny Sanford has given 53% of his net worth away. And Duty Free Shoppers founder Chuck Feeney, almost every last penny of his fortune. George Soros hasn't signed the Giving Pledge, but he belongs here too. He's given 73% of his wealth away. The eBay founder and his wife go here, and everyone else on the Forbes list falls roughly in this area. Over the course of their lives, they've given 12% or less of their net worth away. In the least flattering zone of the chart, the highest net worth, but the...
Why the fuck was I muted? You know, chat, this is some liberal propaganda. You see, they're putting George Soros all the way over there at 80% because they want you to think that George Soros is good, but he's not.
Lowest proportion of it given away.
Okay, not to be a literal communist, but I'm just saying, how about we just take the money? How about we've given these people a whole century to decide if they want to give the money away, and they don't want to. So I'm just saying we should just tax the shit out of them. I'm just saying, if you make more than $1 billion, 90% of your wealth should be taxed away. That's it. That's all I'm saying. I'm just saying, you guys have had your opportunity to make the world better, and you've done absolutely nothing. So you should give it back to us, the people who generated your wealth in the first place. All the people who you abused to create that wealth, you should give it back. You know.
Is Jeff Bezos. The founder of Amazon is the richest person on this chart. His $117 billion net worth dwarfs his $2.7 billion of philanthropic giving. It's only 2.3% of his wealth over his lifetime. For context, that's about as much as what Americans on average consistently give as a proportion of their disposable income per year, about 2%. Bezos' money has gone to various causes, like fighting climate change, education. He even gave $100 million directly to Dolly Parton.
Bezos' philanthropic reputation at this point is kind of that he doesn't have one. It's kind of hazy, is what a lot of experts have told me.
That's Wizzy Kim, a senior reporter for Vox who covers billionaires.
A lot of people speculate that that's one of the reasons he's made this recent announcement of, I'm eventually going to give my net worth away. There was a lot of pushback.
Yeah, right, you fucking lying sack of shit.
Around, hey Jeff, why aren't you more involved in philanthropy?
This chart helps us see who the real standout givers are. Those who give most of their wealth away, and those who hold on to their enormous fortunes.
Even if a certain individual is very generous, if overall...
Okay, how about this? How about we stop just like waiting for them to be generous And how about they contribute to society in a way that's meaningful? How about that? How about instead of us just waiting for these capitalists to be generous, we don't do that? We have a system that allocates money from wealthy people to poor people. It's called taxes. How about we steal their money that they earned? Please explain to me in words how Elon Musk earned being the richest man on the planet. Was it when his dad owned an emerald mine? Did he earn that? Did he earn being able to get the best education because his parents... Oh, slash sarcasm? Okay, sorry. Okay, sorry about that. Sorry. Taxes don't work on the rich. You can't tax assets. You know, there's a thing called wealth taxes. You should look into Elizabeth Warren's plan that was proposed on wealth taxes. Even Bernie is in favor of Warren's plan on wealth taxes. It's supposed to be a comprehensive wealth tax plan that avoids the pitfalls that occurred in Europe. Because many countries in Europe have tried wealth taxes and it doesn't work because they didn't include enough provisions. The one that Elizabeth Warren is pushing is actually a really incredible one. It's actually really, really, really good. Because it makes it so that you can't just rescind your citizenship for free. So in addition to all of your assets being taxed, and the way that they tax them is very efficient. Basically, the way that they work, they do it, is that they pay some IRS workers to handle cases. And instead of them sitting there and appraising all of your assets, which would take forever, instead, they tell these billionaires, okay, why don't you tell us how much your assets are worth? And then if we think that you are undervaluing your asset, we will buy it from you at the rate that you told us it was worth. So people who have bought like paintings, for anyone who doesn't know, paintings are like a gigantic scam. Fine art in general is like, basically it's just a money laundering scheme. Let me show you guys 1 second. The guy who produced and marketed the documentary on Ai Weiwei is also the largest holder of his work, essentially created an artificial market and hype around the artists to make more money off of it. I think that is probably at least a little bit of like a doomer opinion, especially considering that Ai Weiwei actually unironically like is an amazing Chinese artist, and he has made some works that have literally got him thrown into re-education camps, we'll call them. And then he was like, look guys, I am criticizing China's poor infrastructure for why these 5,000 students died. And then they were like, hey, how's it going? We just need you to come with us for a little bit because there's no war in Ba Sing Se, and you just need to come with us for just a little bit. And then he came out and he was like, guys, China is amazing. Did I ever tell you guys how much I love China? I love China so much. So much. So like he actually he straight up took a trip to Lake, what is it? Laogai? Yeah, it was not like, he actually is like an artist that is trying to critique the system. But what was I trying to talk about? Right. Like, don't get me wrong. China, they fucking destroy us in infrastructure. They destroyed us in how like they handled COVID. They absolutely obliterate us on like a variety of things, us being Americans. But man, some aspects are a little tough. But anyways, what was I trying to talk about? Right. Yeah, fine art. Right, wealth taxes. I think Elizabeth Warren was basically talking about how wealth taxes that have failed in other countries, the reason they failed is because they don't really tax assets appropriately. So here's what this Warren's wealth tax, from what I recall, how it was written. You would go to a millionaire or billionaire and be like, okay, we'll tell you what, we want to tax you for all your assets. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to tell us, because we're not wasting our manpower to do it. You tell us how much they're worth. We will then go by we will look at every single individual asset. And if we think that the asset is actually worth that, you can keep it. And if we think that you are undervaluing the asset, we will buy it ourselves. So that painting that you spent $5 billion on and you're saying, no, guys, it's only worth like $10. Okay, well, if it's only worth $10, we will buy it from you for $10. So it's basically eliminate manpower while also getting billionaires to try and be honest about how much things are worth. I'm so sad about this fine artist. She was really sad. It doesn't mean that art is like a scam. Like, art is still like incredible. And anyone here who's taking an art history class, you know that art is incredible. And it's like literally some of the only remnants that we have of some societies and cultures and stuff. And art will always be valuable. But modern art, like modern fine art, is a complete joke. Fine art, it currently is just a money laundering scam right now, which is really sad because art is one of the most amazing things that people have ever created. I mean, yeah, capitalism is a scam. Anyways, yeah, so like there is such a thing as like wealth taxes that would work. It's not like just because you're incredibly wealthy, that's it, oh, we can't tax you anymore. We can still tax wealthy people. It's just whether or not we will be capable of pushing anything in Congress. The answer is no.
This class of people just keeps amassing more and more money. We've got to look at ourselves and ask, okay, what are we doing wrong here and how do we reverse this?
All this money creates what the Institute for Policy Studies has called top-heavy philanthropy, where individual wealthy donors make up a large portion of charitable giving. Since 2011, mega gifts of $1 million or more from single donors have been growing.
If you are a relatively small institution that receives funding from a very large philanthropist, they take their money away, you are in trouble.
This chart breaks down charitable tax deductions by household income level since the early 90s. Nonprofits used to rely on the broad support of the population. In 1993, 77% of charitable deductions were taken by households making less than $200,000. Today, that chart has almost flipped. Households making more than $1 million were taking the most charitable deductions.
So just a handful of people are deciding what merits philanthropic money and how these causes should be solved.
Ultra-wealthy donors tend to give to different causes than the rest of us. An analysis of the Chronicle of Philanthropy's top 50 donors shows that they give to education more than the causes non-wealthy donors give to, like to health, a lot to religion, the environment, and international affairs. That could mean a billionaire giving $500 million to his alma mater for a new building on campus, or another giving $750 million in one single donation to charter schools in 20 U.S. cities.
And guess what? Most of the time when they give this money to charter schools and they give this money to universities or whatever, it's more a way to be like, okay, this is a tax write-off for me, and I gave you guys all this money so you can build whatever, and you guys need to bring my kids into your school. See, my son, he's about to start applying for colleges. So I just donated like $500 million to you guys. You guys are going to admit him, right? Right? Okay, that's what I thought. So for them, it's a win-win-win. Tax churches while we're at it. I am under the opinion that after a certain threshold, churches should be taxed. For anyone here who's like, actually, can I get like a show of hands in here, chat? One's in chat if you've ever like worked for like a philanthropic church. I guess two's if you haven't. Has anyone here like been to or worked at or experienced that kind of thing before? So I used to be of the opinion that like all churches should be taxed. And I used to be of the opinion that like just because you're a religious institution it doesn't mean that you get protection. And I met this one woman who she was like a pretty religious woman, but she was not like a Karen religious woman. The church is a community area, and it's a way to go and meet other people in your community and help other people in your community. And she would literally spend hours of her free time with other volunteers who would spend hours of their free time helping people. They would receive X donations from wherever, and they would be like, okay, well, I have a case. I'm going to be a caseworker for this person. I'm going to try and get them an interview. I'm going to help them work on their resume. I am going to give them like $500 for a phone and a suit and this and this and this. And we're going to try and help them get back on their feet. So there are people who do use churches as a way for like community building and as a way to help people who otherwise can't get that help. And that really shifted my opinion.
Churches should earn tax exemption by qualifying as a charity, not from qualifying as a church.
Very correct. Very correct. And for people who go to churches like that, I don't want those people to be taxed. They're already using the money in a way that I think is very good. They're taking the money, they're spending very little of it on themselves, and the majority of the donations that they get, they use to helping the poor and the needy. And that's like amazing. Like, I don't want to take more of that money away from them. They're using it in a good way. My former manager was like that. Her dream was to have the time to volunteer during Thanksgiving. Some churches do a lot for the homeless and poor people. Atheist Community of Austin gave me meals to the poor. The only difference in the churches is that they did not mandate a service before the meal. So like, there are churches that I know that don't mandate services either. My problem is the fucking mega churches that are making millions and millions and millions of dollars. And they're like, sorry, we're a church, so we don't have to pay you guys money. That should be fucking illegal. The fact that Kenneth Copeland has the net wealth that he does is disgusting to me. Absolutely, absolutely disgusting. My church feeds the homeless, but it causes a big problem where some of the homeless leave their dirty needles and trash everywhere. Okay. Pastors with private jets. Yeah, it's like, in what universe should a pastor have a fucking private jet? If you're at the point where you are buying private jets and private yachts, maybe you should get fucking taxed. Kenneth Copeland is exactly how I picture snake oil salesmen in the Old West. Yeah. It's so disgusting. Once churches became mega churches, they make enough in tithes they can avoid taxes the same way corporations do. It's really gross. Sanj. There's a Turkish cleric who's worth over $1 billion and he claims it's from selling books. So disgusting. The worst part about it is that churches are sometimes the only recourse that we have for certain things. So gross. It just disgusts me to my core, dude. Anyways, we'll get back to the video.
A relatively small amount of money can have a great impact on a specific school district or a single charter school.
The top 50 donors are also more likely to give through a private foundation. Most of the people on the Forbes list have had their own private foundations, or they give to them. Here's how they work. Donors make large, charitable gifts to a foundation in the form of cash, assets, or stocks. In return, they get huge tax benefits immediately. But the foundation only has to give money to actual charities at a rate of 5% a year. That means money can stockpile in here, donors reap the tax benefits, while charities may only get a trickle over time. The Forbes list only counts this money that foundations have already given to charity, not the money parked here. Meanwhile, this money continues to enrich donors. There's another way billionaires donate that the Forbes list doesn't count at all: donor-advised funds, which are more secretive by design. These are charitable savings accounts that allow the donor to be anonymous and offer even bigger upfront tax benefits. More importantly, they have no reporting or payout requirements, so it's difficult to tell whether the money
How is this fucking legal?
is going somewhere good or just lowering the donor's
Denims,
tax.
you're being too harsh on religion. What about the Church of Nuba? What about praising Wormy? What about giving a gun to Mayor? Checkmate. Sub with Prime, y'all.
Oh my god, the sound effects are really cooking today.
Bill. Donor-advised funds have been rising in popularity, meaning collectively they are housing billions of dollars yet to be paid out to charities. As of 2020, that figure was $160 billion. And the huge multi-billion-dollar endowments of foundations means they have a lot of power, like the Gates Foundation.
In terms of global public health, the Gates Foundation does get a lot of credit for their work in improving vaccine access for preventable diseases for very young children. Since they've been doing their work in this, child mortality rates, like infant mortality under 5, has gone down a lot.
Their foundation is also the largest private donor to the World Health Organization,
Which tells you a lot about just how much agenda-setting power they have and what kinds of public health problems to prioritize. The biggest criticism is that it's undemocratic.
Former Enron executive John Arnold and his wife Laura have been advocating for reform of donor-advised funds by lobbying Congress to require them to distribute funds within 15 years, or for donors to only get a tax deduction upon distribution to charities. Others advocate to increase the payout requirements of foundations from 5% annually to 10%. These types of reforms are small fixes to the system, But if our country didn't have such dramatic wealth inequality, we wouldn't have to rely on the charitable whims of these billionaires to begin with.
So gross, dude. So gross. Makes me vomit. Makes me disgusted. Ugh. Ugh.